Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we draw on Xenology by Simon Spurrier and look at a few examples from that book about a Xenos species called the Umbra. This first section is written in a style that's a letter to an inquisitor reporting on the Umbra. We engaged with the Xenos species, and when it ended, I was better able to direct Fleet Commissar to the points of great disturbance. With recourse to vacuum mobile drones, we determined an infestation of sorts, a shoal of black spheres clustered around the warp drive and engine vents. These creatures are no new phenomenon, as any spacefarer may attest, though it had always been assumed there was some sub-sentient pest indigenous to the vacuum, dumbly attracted to traces of warp stuff, as a moth is drawn to light. On this occasion, one among them gained access to the vessel's interior, affixed to the underbelly of a Fury interceptor. Observing quarantine procedure, the officer of the watch ordered the pest destroyed and summoned stormtroopers to that end. No sooner had they opened fire than all hell broke loose. The creature was able to manipulate areas of darkness, drawing up matter like oil from those zones of deepest shadow, the cracks between bulkhead plates, beneath crates of supplies, even from the pupils of our eyes. This assemblage of umbrous material was deployed in a most horrific fashion, a confluence of hooks, blades, teeth and the like. Seeing his squad slaughtered and their barrage ineffectual, the commissar ordered a retreat and vented the hangar to the void. In the years since, news has reached me of increasing incidents like this. I hear that every day the Martian shipyards uncover greater infestations around those warp-imbued elements of their vessels, and while most Umbra are easily dispersed, some, as on Repentia, turn to murder and violence. It has been said that entire ships have been lost to shadow smiths, satellites ripped apart, even planetary colonies engaged by shapeless dark matter entities, which only the mightiest weapons can harm. True excesses of illumination seem to deter them, but whatever shadows are thereby cast merely afford greater means for them to retaliate. And then, in a similar vein to the first one, we have notes made by an inquisitor, Maturin Raleigh, in M41. The Umbra may represent a minuscule portion of extra-dimensional creatures, he argues. His point thus: consider a being that exists solely within 2 dimensions. It has no sense of depth, and to its eye, any object bisecting its shallow plane must appear as a straight line of infinitely narrow width. To such a being, a human must seem a very curious thing, a straight line that expands and contracts as its body passes across its view. It regards us as mundane objects, possessing extraordinary properties, exactly as we perceive the Umbra. Despite the vulgarity of his smile, one can't help feel Burr might be right. In all my hours of research upon the subject, only one other speculative text comes close in plausibility, and that suffers the stigma of its author's reputation. Curdo Salvador was burned as a self-confessed heretic after its writing. Visited I was by a creature in the dark, and it goes on to describe in a poetic way what he'd experienced. And then the inquisitor analyses it. An incredible account, despite its lack of credibility. One thing in particular fits with what we know of the Umbra. Regardless of purpose, sentience or biology, they have a demonstrable warp presence and seem naturally drawn to areas of Empyrean resonance, be they the hulls of vessels or, as witnessed on 3 separate occasions, suspected points of access to the Elder Webway. Could the Umbra be indigenous to the warp, cast out and scattered, just as Salvador asserts? If so, it provides motive for their assaults. Our scholars speak often of the reflections of mankind's mass mind upon the flexible fabric of the warp. To a splintered, confused mind, would it not seem logical to becalm the realm that had ejected it by killing those responsible for its tempests? As ever, all we have is speculation. In their spherical forms, these beings are poisoned by the light. That one vulnerability, one supposes, is reason enough to celebrate. And that, friends, is where I will end today's video. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Umbra, despite the odd way it had to be delivered because of how it is in the actual text itself. Now, I've read it out like this because it's much easier to articulate it to you that way than having to pull out all the details from the actual narrative. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.